Hello students, let's read the problem, and it says, which table contains the possible solutions to the system of inequalities below? So we have a system, right? And we have answer choices, but the answer choices are actually order pairs. So I know there's a question that we did earlier, right? Where one order pair was given to you. So that was easy because it was like only 4 points that you could or that you actually had to check. But this one has a lot, right? So my advice is, what about if we solve for y? And we're going to do a combination. We can look at the answer choices, but we can also put them in the calculator. But you still need to solve for y, which means we need to, we need to write down my inequality in kind of like a slope-intercept form, right? Because we're going to treat it as an equation, okay? So let's start with the first one. So I'm going to write down my inequality, which is x plus 2y greater than or equals to -4. So I need to solve for y. So I'm going to take away x's on both sides. So I get 2y is greater than or equals to -x minus 4. I need to divide by 2 on both, right? So my answer will be y is greater than or equals to -x over 2 minus 2. So that will be my first inequality. So I'm going to write it down a little bit bigger over here. Okay? Okay, now let's do the second one. So my second inequality is x minus 2y. It's greater than or equals to -9. So we're still going to have to solve for y. So we take away x's on both sides, right? Remember that x, you always bring it to the front. And now I need to divide by a -2. Now remember, when you divide by a negative or multiply, you got to switch the sign. And here, negative divided by a negative is actually a positive. And negative divided by a negative is a positive. So I'm going to write it down as leave it as a fraction. It's totally fine. Okay? Now, I'm going to write down my other inequality here. Now think about it. If I wanted to graph this, I see decimals on the second one, right? So that would be a little bit tough, okay? Okay, so let's think about how can I use the calculator to help me graph. Well, I'm going to compare my inequalities to equations. So I'm going to pretend that they're equations and we're going to graph them. And then we're going to look at the points on the table. But remember, you got to keep in mind your inequality sign, okay? So what do I mean by that? Well, it means that I'm going to look for the numbers, right, that are above the line, because I'm looking for numbers that are greater than that, okay? So let's see if that makes sense. So I'm going to come back to my calculator, and I'm going to get a graph, okay? So we're going to graph the first one. Just like I said, instead of that greater than, we're just going to leave the equal sign. So I'm going to type my fraction, which is -x divided by 2 or over 2, move it to the right, minus 2. I'm going to graph it. And this is the way the line looks like. Now remember, I'm looking for numbers that are above the line, right? So let's start with letter A. Letter A says -6, -1. So I need to see where the point is. Well, -6, look, this is -1, -2, 3, 4, 5, and -6 is right here. And -1 is below. So right away, I can see that my answer choice A, it's not going to work. Is that right? Okay, that's not going to work, because -6, -1 is not above the line, right? Let's look at letter B. So I got -2 and +2, good. 0, 3, yes. 2 and 3, yeah, they're all above. And 4 and 2, yeah. So B could be one of the answer choices, right? What about letter C? 0, 4 is good. 2 and 8, 4 and -6. You know what? Let me check 4 and -6, because that's a little bit way below. So this is 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? That's 4. And -6, look, this is -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. -6 is way below the line. That's good, right? Because that means that then C might not be one of my answers, right? Because I'm looking for numbers that are above the line, right? And the last one is -8 and +4. More than likely that's good. -6 and +1. Let's check that one. -6 is right here. So this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And +1 seems like it's right there on the line, right? So, and remember, since it has the inequality of equal on the bottom, it could be true. And then I have -4 and 4 is good, and -2. Okay, so we'll eliminate at least A and C. Is that right? Now, how can I compare it? Now, remember, you're looking for all the numbers above that. Okay, so now let's do the second one. Let's make sure that we know which line is that one. So I'm going to write it down here, and this is my blue line, right? Because I'm about to write another one, okay? Now, if you remember, the way that I can actually graph another equation is we're going to click on tab, right? And that will give me my second equation. So let's go ahead and type my second inequality. And again, we are not going to change the symbol. We're going to think that this is an equation. So we have x over 2, move to the right, and plus, now remember, 90 over 2 is like 9 divided by 2. So that's 4.5, right? So change it to a decimal, 4.5. Or you can type the fraction if you want to. It's totally up to you. I'm going to click enter. And now look at the advantage here is that I can see both of my equations, right? The blue one, it's the one that it says -x over 2 minus 2, which is my first one, and that y less than. So how is that going to help me? Well, I'm going to focus on the red line. Okay, so I'm going to say over here, this is my red line. And I'm looking for the numbers that are less than. So these are going to be what? Above or below? We're looking for the ones that are below the red line. Okay, so that will be this section that is here. Let me see if you will let me write anything here. No, right? Doesn't let me write, which is fine. So I'm looking for numbers that are below the red line, right? And numbers that are above the blue line. So we kind of did the blue one already, but now we're going to go and focus on the red one. So let's look at letter B. Letter B says, find me these points, -2 and a +2. So this is -2 and a +2 is good. 0 and 3, yep, they're there. 2 and 3 are there, and 4 and 2 are there. So it looks like B might be the answer, but let's check out letter D just to confirm. Look for -8 and +4. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and -8 is right here. +4 will be 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's see. This is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Notice how that one, +4, it's right on this section here on the left side, upper, right? So that doesn't work. It works for the blue one, but it doesn't work for the red line, okay? So that's how I know that letter D would not be my answer. Is that right? So that's one way that you guys can choose to use the calculator to help you, right? Because the other way will be a little bit tougher because that means that you need to compare each one of the points, okay? So our answer here would be letter B for this one. And like I said, you gotta think about how you can use the calculator, but we are choosing to compare it to our equation. The only thing that I'm emphasizing is to think about looking for the numbers that are above the blue line and numbers that are below the red line, okay? And that way you can find those points in your graph, okay? So that's the answer.